All right, ladies, y'all had your instructions in the dressing room. Obey my commands at all times, protect yourself at all times. Touch them up.
Sean Clark, the third man in the ring. Mark, you ready to roll some R's? Nisa Rodriguez and Jordanne Garcia in the ring. An important day for Nisa, especially for a New Yorker, Mark Kriegel, as you join us here ringside.
She's as New York as you can get. You know, other fighters were laying low last night. She was working the corners for the cops. You know, in the cops and firemen fights.
Absolutely. Battle of the Badges in this same building, the same place where she won 8 Golden Glove championships for New York City. So this is a place she calls home. The cops and firefighters are out here in full force supporting one of their own in Nisa Rodriguez, a woman who does so much for the community here in the Bronx. She's tall, stands at 5'11" against a 5'6" Jordanne Garcia. Nice straight right to get things started here inside the theater at MSG.
She's having a way so far. We spoke to her trainer yesterday, Jimmy Sosa, said, you know, after all those amateur titles, 8 Golden Gloves right here in the Garden, the one thing she had an adjustment making to the pros is sitting down on her punches, not worrying about scoring punches, but worrying about damaging punches. From the early returns in this round, it looks like she's making a pretty good transition.
Yeah, she had issues in her first professional fight because she injured her hand early on in that fight, went back to the corner, and her longtime trainer, Jimmy Sosa, asked her, well, what are you going to do? She said, I'm going to suck it up. And she actually hurt her opponent, Josette Cotton, in the final round to come away with the unanimous decision win. That same Josette Cotton fought Jordanne Garcia, her opponent tonight, to a draw.
Break, my break.
I don't know how many fighters, if any, can say this. My kid got me in.
Yeah.
You know, she works a midnight tour for the New York City Police Department. She was a teacher. And her son said, hey, you know, after all those titles, I think you really want to be a pro. I think you don't want to regret. And so he convinced his mom. He convinced his mom, 15-year-old Emerson. He convinced his mom to turn pro. I spoke to him this morning. He said,
stop at the bell.
You know, how many people can say my mom's a professional boxer?
Well, Emerson can do so, as can her 2 daughters, Haley Lee, who's 11, and Riley, aged 8. So first round in the books here. Nisa Rodriguez is doing it for real in the pros. Last night in this same ring, though, it was the Battle of the Badges. And you could see, Mark, you've been to these because you were a beat reporter here in New York for a long time. You know,
it's serious business, man.
On the beat, they take care of each other, but in that ring, it's for real.
No, in the ring, they want to hurt each other bad.
Absolutely, the cops and the firefighters.
That in the football game.
Yes, exactly. So that was the Battle of the Badges last night in this same building, and Nisa Rodriguez taking instructions from her trainer, Jimmy Sosa.
I mean, at that height, with that length, she's going to be hard to beat. You know, one thing she says, it's very true. The women's game is not as wide open as it once was. But at the higher weights, it still is.
Yeah,
and you know, she has a story to tell. She has obvious skills, great pedigree as an amateur. There's a lot she might be able to do still at the age of 33.
And that's not even considering all the stuff she's overcome. Just coming from where she was a single mom at 17, raising Emerson on her own. You see the speed and the power, that overhand right. And her trainer, Jimmy Sosa, says, today you're going to see her sitting on her punches. And I think that's evident, Mark.
We saw her sitting on the punches. I mean, ask Jordanne Garcia how those feel.
We mentioned that she had a prolific amateur career. She was trying to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics, represented Puerto Rico, and she dislocated her ankle on her way to Tokyo. So that Olympic dream never materialized for her. Before that, she suffered a blood clot that caused the collapsed lung. She flew all the way home from Ireland after a tournament with a collapsed lung. And not to mention the fact that she's already had a detached retina. So she's been through so much to even be in this ring.
Wait, I'll tell you what. She was sparring at 5 months pregnant, didn't know she was carrying a child. They said, hey, you might have an iron deficiency. Turned out she had a kid. That turned out to be Emerson, who got her back in the ring, whom she spars with, or did at least.
Yeah. I mean, impressive.
Hey, listen, when the kid got mouthy, he started feeling himself, and he started getting to be a teenager. Come on, let's put on the gloves.
Well, she says that's how she saw him.
Same thing with the husband.
He's like, you know what? Let's put on, lace him up. We're going to take care of this.
Veronica don't say that to you?
No, come on. We are civilized people in the Osuna household.
Jenny's thought about it a couple times.
She'll put a hurt
She
on
would have
you.
housed me.
Here's a free. Stop at the bell.
2-minute rounds here for the female boxing, but this is a special weekend for Puerto Rican fighters, and Xander Zayas is proud to showcase his people tonight, like some Puerto Rico's boxing idols have done in the past.
Being Puerto Rican means the world. It feels amazing to wake up every morning and say, man, I'm a Puerto Rican fighter. They are behind me, they support me, they want me to bring glory to Puerto Rico, and I want to do the same. I want to unite all those families like Tito Trinidad united them, like Miguel Cotto.
Super welterweight champion of the world.
He looks up to Miguel Cotto, to Felix Trinidad, but he doesn't compare himself to him.
When we look at this young man and what tonight means to him, he says, I've been dreaming of this night since I was 5 years old, and I have to perform. But really, Mark, the dream is to be in the big building on one of these weekends in the very near future, headlining for a world title.
You could see Nisa Rodriguez there conceivably too, man, on one of his cards. Listen, there are two kinds of fighters in my mind: those with stories and those without stories. Nisa's talent, which you see right there, is on display tonight, but also someone with an interesting story that can propel a fighter forward too. I mean, you know how much this sport takes, but look at it from Nisa's perspective. She works a midnight tour. She gets off at 7:20 in the morning, and it's a pretty emotionally and physically taxing job. Most of the time, she's dealing with kids, teenagers, adolescents who are victims, and a lot of them she sends to cops and kids, where she's worked out for many years. But she gets off at 7, she goes out to Brooklyn, she works out for a couple hours, comes back, tries to get a little sleep, makes dinner for the kids, and goes back to Manhattan to do the midnight tour.
I mean, it's impressive what she's able to do. And you talk about affecting people's lives. Shushu Carrington, who you'll see in tonight's co-main event, well, he came out of that same program, and he credits someone like Nisa, and her in particular, for keeping him out of trouble as a kid. And that Cops and Kids gym, wow, that's a straight right hand that just finds a home on Garcia, who's winless in her last 5 fights, 0-3-2. But she's tough.
She's more than just an opponent. She has more professional experience than Nisa does, first of all. And she has some real amateur experience.
Yes, 66 amateur bouts, won the 2014 and 2013 National Junior Olympics. But here in the pros, the power punching of Rodriguez is evident. She's using her length extremely well early on here as we finish up round 3 of a scheduled 4-rounder. Let's listen in to Jimmy Sosa with Nisa Rodriguez.
Ladies and gentlemen, here inside the theater at Madison Square Garden, we go to the 4th and final round.
Don't get frustrated when he holds you.
Last round, touch the bump in the center. Watch the elbows. I told her about Hogan. Watch the elbows, all right?
Don't worry about her holding. I don't want you getting hit afterwards, all right? Don't do this with the hands up. Elbows in, go down, all right? Don't do this. He's going to sucker punch you with a right hand. Don't do that, all right? After that, no, you're touching the straight boom. As soon as you touch it with the right hand, with the body. You're hurting her, but keep on touching her, and let go of that right. As soon as the right lands, go for the body, or check hook. As soon as you do it, come on. Let's work this fucking round. You want this or what? Let's go, come on. Always
6 years training under
That's it, all fucking day.
Jimmy Sosa. You hear the bad language, which we apologize for, but the passion in that corner. But Mark, she's still learning as a pro, even though she's got a lot of experience. Started boxing at a very young age. Gave up the sport for a while to become a cop.
Jimmy Sosa gave up the sport a while to become a teacher.
Yes.
And I think that some of the things she saw as a teacher, losing kids in her classroom, made her become a cop.
Yeah, she said that having one of her kids stabbed in
6 times
during school.
6 times she had a kid, and she sent that kid to Cops and Kids. And again, Cops and Kids does a lot of great work. 2 gyms in Staten Island, 1 in Flatbush, Brooklyn. And you're seeing one of the great success stories from Cops and Kids there. That's what I think she's done, even more than her length, the way she's been able to turn that hook on a shorter fighter, working her body, working her head. She hasn't just stayed with straight punches, even though she obviously has a great length advantage.
One minute left here in this final 2-minute round between Nisa Rodriguez. Jordanne Garcia is tough. This fight was supposed to take place at 160 pounds at middleweight, and they had to move the weight up for Garcia, so it's a super middleweight bout. Nonetheless, Rodriguez said, I want to fight this weekend. I want to open the show on Puerto Rican Day, Parade Eve, and here she is.
I'd like to see her again. I really would, man. I'm down to see her every time I'm in town and see her on whatever card we have. You know?
And I think that will be the case moving forward for the NYPD's Community Affairs Rapid Response Team star, Nisa Rodriguez, who looks to improve to 2-0 here on Top Rank Boxing on ESPN+.
I'd say her son Emerson gave her wise counsel.
Absolutely.
And now we can say, hey, my mom's a pro. Maybe one day I'll say my mom's a champ.
Yeah, Emerson himself is a young man who has earned himself multiple titles as an amateur, the New York City Ring Masters champion, New York City Metro as well. So
in May, won the Junior Olympics.
Yeah. And the
Bigger kid now, like, doesn't spar with his mom as often, I don't think.
No, she said they stopped sparring a couple of years ago. Because I don't want him to think that he can go in there and put in some good work against me. But Nisa Rodriguez and Jimmy Sosa should leave happy, and Jordanne Garcia and her father, Steve Garcia, in that corner. She came to fight. She came to put on a show, and she did exactly that. After an 11-month layoff, it'd be difficult for her to earn a victory here in New York after Nisa Rodriguez was so effective behind that right.
Look, I don't think New York had anything to do with this. This is a pretty clear decision.
Oh, no.
I got Nisa pitching a shutout.
Absolutely. Let's get the decision now with Mark Chinook.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 4 rounds here inside the theater at Madison Square Garden, we go to the judges' scorecards for the official decision. John McKay, Robert Perez, and Martha Tremblay all score the bout 40-36. For your winner by unanimous decision, the pride of New York City, Nisa La Madrina Rodriguez.
Rina, the godmother, because so many of the kids in that Cops and Kids program call her Tia, they call her Titi. She's family to them. And